we happened to find at the thrift store. We found the McCulloch FR 2.0 14-inch bar. According to the label, FR, factory refurbished. I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of these, but for the price, you couldn't beat it. It's hard to tell if it runs. The only thing I've done to it was we got it, found it at the store. It was sitting by some beat up electric blowers, and it turns over. It's got compression, and so we haven't checked anything on it yet. I know the primer's super loose, but it's hard to tell why someone donated it. Odds are most of the stuff I run into is carburetor, fuel line issues. But it seems like throttle's moving, on and off. It seems to be moving. Choke. Yep. So we didn't check none of that stuff while we was there. Just got it and went. See if I got the right. We'll check the top and see if it's missing. I actually have two of these up there. One runs, one's more for parts. Probably wouldn't take much to get it running, but between the one that's up there and this one, we probably make one good one. It does fit. I didn't think it was going to fit. So, we'll pop the cap. Yeah, well, you know the air filter's there. So it definitely got used and abused. It's running at some point. This thing's covered in sawdust. Air filter. Yeah, buddy. So it's hard to tell. See what we got under the cap. Get the chuck lever out of the way. Yeah, it should be the same size. Yeah, the carb looks clean. See if we get this off. Let's see if we can get down to where we can see the fuel lines. These things are like super basic stuff. Neglect is the biggest issue we got going on here. People weren't taking care of it. Thankfully, inside the carb looks clean, but you can see all the build up here. So, there's our primer. Can't see it very well. Oh, here's one line off, so that one's trash. Oh, that one's tight. Yeah, that's probably our problem. That thing's just as brittle as it can be. So my guess is fuel lines. And if it's like the other one, it wasn't terrible bad, but bad enough. And they can be, you gotta have patience. That's all it is, you just gotta have patience. Because it runs, hooks up, primer's over here on the left, and it should be, I believe, one of, here's one. I think they're the pop ends. We'll have to get it apart and see what we got, but I'm pretty sure it's this style here. The line I think I have, so I think the carb is actually loose. I think it's so much dust. I might as well get that out of the way. Yeah. Okay, so we'll just go ahead. Some of these can be a bear, because if you're not careful, the linkage will unhook down inside the handle. It just, turn it, pops. Man, my goodness, look at that. This thing is covered. So we'll definitely have to take time to clean it up. Pop the top, as dirty as this is. And you take this top off right here, and there will be a screen down inside the top of the carburetor, so we'll have to check it and make sure it's not all gummed up and full of more of this on the inside of the carb. So definitely have a fuel line issue. Yeah, it's secure. Alright. So we can see, if I had a little bit, I don't know if you guys can see down in there or not, but you can see the green line goes in, and then your other line is that dark brown brittle line goes right above it. You have two holes, it's like this, and they go straight into the tank. So odds are, yep, no line. Lines are snapped off. So yeah, there's nothing anywhere in there, so it snapped off and down in the tank. So we'll have to deal with that too. So let me get some stuff, get started. So the odds are, hopefully it's just fuel lines and it'll run. All right, let me get some stuff together and then we'll tackle it. All right, so this kind of escalated a little bit. I went ahead and just disassembled it. Well, not fully, but since everything was so dirty, so I can show you guys. This is why some saws, the brands, they get bad names, but granted, I am not personally a refurb fan, but if you take care of your saws, you usually don't have this problem. But like in this one's case, it definitely wasn't taken care of. Obviously, I mean, you can see, look at all that. I mean, that's just a ton of buildup from this saw being used and not being taken care of. Man, it's crazy. It's this cover here is the side for where the pull string or starter string, pull string, whatever you want to call it. That's where it sets at. It's up underneath this bar, and it is just caked. This. Here's your the grounding piece for your switch. It's got a couple wires which are right there. You just pop them right off. Right there, run down to your coil to shut the motor down, take the spark away. So here's the inside of where the brake is at. This is where your clutch sits inside of here, and it's just packed. So I mean, all this is definitely going to have to be cleaned out. I mean, this is bad. Whoever owned it, it was so much neglect. But we'll get all that cleaned out, and here's your oil jug, fuel jug, your flywheel, your coil, and you can just see like up around the flywheel and everything. You get all this buildup up in here, all that stuff coming out. It gets all up around in here. It cakes in. You can see your coil. I mean, it's just everywhere. So what ends up happening is, I mean, this is really bad. As you get all that buildup, it gets in there. It cakes on everything. It sets. It's oil soaked. I mean, it just cakes to everything. Excuse me, and it just gets there, and all the heat that you're getting from this thing running, cutting wood and everything, all that gets in there and it builds up, just holds heat and holds heat and holds heat, causes your saw to run hot. That's where a lot of people have issues. Oh, it's a refurbished piece of crap. Well, granted, some of them are refurbished. It's a hit and miss win scenario with the refurbished ones, but this is bad. It's whoever owned this, they probably could have threw some fuel lines on this. As long as the carb's in good shape, it's not hard to do. But I forgot about this one. The tank is it's easiest for me. It was easiest with the other two to pop this side cover off. It's so easy to do. All you got is you just got like 5 or 6 screws. This whole the whole assembly comes completely apart, and once you do that, I probably don't have enough light to show you guys, but right down through the center right here, you got your top hole, your bottom hole, and here's the tank. It's hard to do the fuel lines the way I do them. it's really hard to get through that plastic and get down into the tank itself. So for me, I forgot about that on this one, but it's easier to separate the plastic. You can feed your lines, you can access the tank really well, and makes it a lot easier. But this one, a lot of this saw's problem is straight neglect. So we do have new primer. The filter appears to be in good shape. I'll take it up here. I'll try to wash it out. A lot of times you can get away with using hot soapy water like Dawn dishwashing liquid, and a lot of times you can get them to clean up to where they're still usable. So I'll try that with that one. And I don't believe I have any filters that size, so I'm going to try that and see how well that works. And we can take a look. Got the carb kind of cleaned up, at least enough to tell what you're looking at. So we're going to check the top real quick, see what we got in the small screen, if anything. That saw was neglected, I wouldn't doubt it. Hopefully we can get it without busting any important gaskets. Maybe not. Keep your fingers crossed. There it goes. Yeah, a little bit. Not real bad. You can see, if I can get enough light, you can see it, that brown line right there. That's what that is. That's sawdust. It's all them fine particles. They get down the tank, come up through the fuel line, and they settle right down into that screen. And let's see if I get that to pop out. It's kind of loose in there. Yeah. So it's just a small piece. This piece right here. So that's not real bad, but granted, you know, once gas gets on that, it breaks up, and it'll break up and settle straight down onto that screen and kind of plug it up on you a little bit there. So kind of got lucky there. I figured the way that saw looked, this whole screen would be packed, but thank goodness it's not. So hopefully we'll get lucky and the carb's still functional. But this, I'm going to have to get all cleaned up and get all this garbage off of it, and then we'll reassemble it. It's a good thing we took it all apart to clean it up some. I didn't even notice it until I was cleaning it up, but the oil line was also broke as well. You can see here it hooks up to this nipple, runs over the jug. After you have it out, it has that little screen, works kind of like a weight, but it's a screen. The oil flows through, it comes up, you know, to the nipple. But yeah, I didn't even realize it was broke. So we'll get that back down in there. Used yeah, it went. Okay, so we're good. That part, get that back on. It's gonna start getting. There's a little bit of oil in it, so I'm gonna get it everywhere. But for the most part, everything cleaned up, good enough to do what we need to do. Get that little piece of line out of the way, and so it's not bad. Definitely a lot better than what it was, as you can see, and it's definitely not perfect by any means. But compared to what it was, it's a lot better. At least you can see where this is your off switch. Back side of it, when we first started it, you couldn't even see the internals. The pull string cover I still got to clean. But yeah, get this thing ready for some fuel lines here. And we'll do her up. But man, it was bad. Some of this, it was bad enough to, around the flywheel and everything, I actually had to use a little bit of brake clean to break everything up and get it to come off. Everything else, we just used a lot of hot, soapy water with Dawn dishwashing liquid. Takes care of a lot of it. But that's what I'm saying, as far as it's definitely not perfect. Compared to what it was when we started on it, it's fantastic. So, we'll get some stuff ready here, and we'll see if we can punch some fuel lines in, and hopefully this sucker will run. Alright, here we go. We got the lines in. I went over the lines in more detail, but there's thousands of videos out there on how to do these fuel lines. But I can give you the gist of it. It's super simple. Just take a piece of fuel line, cut it at an angle like that, put some 2-cycle on it, and just feed it down through the hole. Once you get it started in, you can take a pair of hemostats or needle nose pliers, depending on how much room you got, and reach down inside the hole once it's started, and you can just start pulling it through to get the length you want. So we got that. Got the new fuel filter on it. So get that down in there. Get the gas cap back on. Make sure she draws all the way down. Yeah, it's curling up, so. There we go. So we got new fuel line, new primer line, and oil line that I didn't know we was going to have to replace until we started cleaning it up. So here comes the primer, and these are the wires for your switch. Now make sure you have no oil in your no bar oil in there in your jug, because you're going to take the cap off to get this cover on. This, I can't remember if there's any in it, it's hardly any. So feed our primer lines up and through, so we can try to get them started and get the gist of how long we're actually going to need them, which probably isn't going to be that long. Get that cap back so we don't lose any. We're not losing oil, I just don't want to make a mess. So then you got to watch down in there. I got them in there, thankfully, but I'll show you on this one, because this I ended up picking up actually one of those 2 refurbished Macs that are up there. I think I think I showed you in the beginning of the video, but where these fuel lines come through. See if I can zoom ahead enough to show you, because I ended up getting one of these saws for just about free because of this. But there's a slot for each line. There's one for the top line that it fits in, and one for the bottom line it fits in. The bottom line is, on this one's case, is the main fuel line with the cap, but they had to fit in there. Now, how I got that one dirt cheap was they had an ad, and so they couldn't get it running. They replaced the fuel lines. They done this, they done that, and was tired of messing with it. So what happened was, when I opened it up, took it apart, the line, they didn't put it in that groove, and it was actually pinched where how the case fits together like this. It was in the bottom section of the case. They didn't have it in the groove, and the line was pinched. It had the primer pinched and the fuel line pinched, so there was no way for it to get fuel. The only way they could get it to run was shooting starting fluid on it. So be careful of that. And these screws, they're just there just to hold the carb in place for now, just so we can get stuff to where we need it to see. Let's see if I can get you guys a better look. No, it's pretty tight down in there, but let's say I can get you a look down in there for that groove, but because it squeezes together, and if you don't have it down in there right, it's gonna pinch your fuel lines off. So you don't want to mess with that. So here's a new primer. The short side goes to the tank. The long side goes to the carburetor. So you can pump them. You can fill it. You can put your finger over it. Make sure I got it right. Yeah, you can feel how it's sucking in on it. So if it's sucking in, that will have to go to the carb, because it draws the fuel through the carburetor into the ball, and then the ball pushes it back into the tank, if I have it right. but you can hear it where it's sucking on the fuel. Or no, actually I think I got it backwards. I'm sorry. I think it's yeah, so it draws it through the tank. Yeah, no, it should be right. Yeah, I don't know. Tired. It's late. I definitely need to get it done. So we'll go with that first. It's either going to work. If it's not right, you just switch your lines around. They'll be long enough to where, just in case you have to switch it, you can switch it. You won't have to worry about it. So let's get her in there. So see how much room we got. It's just a bear fight. This oil cap, you got to constantly take it on and off. It's not really a bad saw to work on. Just take your time. In my case, I'm always in a hurry, so that's the biggest problem I have. Get our line or our wires hooked up for our switch. Should pop right on. Yeah, I might be able to separate it more. Make it look harder than what it actually is. It's not bad. Just gotta have patience. There we go. Patience is a virtue. Yeah, I'm making this look so much harder than what it is. Honestly, it ain't that bad. But you do it yourself, save yourself a bunch of money. That's what I'm mainly about. I like trying to help people out that watch these videos just to keep it out of the shop, you know. Not trying to ding the shop out of any money, but you know, not everybody can afford whatever labor hours are nowadays. Just to go drop off a chainsaw, weed eater, lawnmower, or whatever have you at the shop to have it fixed. These should be the same way. There should be, yeah, they're right here. If I can get you down in there to see them. There's grooves for these as well. For your wires, if it's picking it up, they're right there. So you want one wire in each groove. Keep from pinching them, breaking them. So we'll take care of that. And throttle cable. It's alright, that's an easy fix. I was going to show you guys that too in case you run into that problem. So just so you don't get frustrated. It's an easy fix. So if you have that problem, or you may, if it pops off on you and you can't figure it out, I'll show you real quick. Super basic. Just because you think they pop off really easy. So, it's the front, this is the back. Get this up here right now, you can see it for sure. You got this peg right here. That's where the back half of this goes. You have your spring up top. The spring goes underneath right here. Just pull it down. Put your spring under like that. That goes on your peg. It just sits right down in. You see that little lip where it sits right down underneath there and catches it. That's part of your trigger assembly. So it just sits just like that. If those can be annoying. Some of the other one I done, man, that thing kept popping off. But we're about there, so see what we got. Now you can do my other one. It kept popping off so much I actually ended up having to put a screw in there here and here just to hold the casing shut, because it kept popping off so much until I could get everything organized. So let's see, we better tip it back up. Let's get her, or I'm going to tip it up. Let's just open her up a little bit. I'll get my switch wires situated so I don't forget about them. Get them over here. There's moving parts in there. You got your flywheel and everything else in there, so you want to be really careful where everything's at. Make sure nothing's hanging down, which honestly it shouldn't hit the flywheel, but you just want to be careful. Okay, are we in there? Almost. Almost. It's kind of hard to do without being in front of the camera. Come on, little fella. There we go. Make sure that our line's in place. Yep, lines are good. Switch wires are good. Linkage is hooked up. So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and throw one of these in just to save myself some aggravation. These you can use, I think it's a T25 star bit or a flathead screwdriver. One or the other. There we go, so now it won't separate. Make it a little easier on us. For the minute anyhow. Get that cap back on real quick. Now, primer lines, these are always fun. So we got, crap off my hands. These ones, a lot of these only go in one way, but this one's case because they'll have a notch. But this one doesn't have the spot in it for a notch, but these do fit it. So we got, make sure I got it right for you guys. Yep, sucking in. Okay, so the long one should blow it back into the tank. The short one should draw it through the carb. So this one's to the carb. So that should be our short one. And let's see. I'm going to try to get away with not having to fight with it on the back side of the case. So hopefully if this works, we'll be able to just do it all right here, pop the primer in, make sure that everything's free, and we should be good. It's one of those things you could probably put a little 2-cycle on as well. Help it slide on a little easier. My catching off the tab. There we go. That's probably what I should have done. Maybe I'll do it with the next one. There we go. So there's that one. So there's the other one. We'll cut it about right there. Let's see. Let's see if that might help. Put a little drop on there. A little bit of 2-cycle. There we go. See the difference. Straight on, no problem. Alright, we're on. Now you can line it up with your grooves. Boom. There we go. So now you can look down in it. There's the one line, no kinks. The one feeding back to the tank, nice and smooth. So we're good. So now I'll get this thing put back together and we'll see if it possibly runs. Alright man, we'll catch it when it's back together and we're outside. Oh, let's see. Alright, we got oil on it, fuel on it. Let's see if she primes up. There she goes. Choke is on. Bar is unlocked. It's off right there. One thing we didn't check was spark. Didn't even think about it. About enough to wear it out. Oh, come on. All right. Alright, gotta give the shoulder a break. And we'll check and see if it's got spark. I'll show you the issue here in a minute. Trying to get it to where it'll idle. I need a thinner screwdriver. Yep. Okay. Oh, fun, fun, fun. But the issue, heck is that screw, man? The issue is was the plug was part of the problem. I'll show you. And I need a thinner screwdriver for this for sure. Here it is. This thing is, if you guys can see it, was coated in all kinds of crap. It's like an oily residue. This thing was soaked in it with the, thought I flooded it. Took the plug out, definitely had fuel in it, but it was coated with, looked like freaking gear oil. Oh. Keep trying. Thing's so far out of adjustment, it's crazy. Whew. But it runs. That's a plus. Actually, I might be able to get it on choke. Oh, the fun. Let's try that. Half choke. Wore out, but it runs. Just needs the dumping fuel for sure. You can see some of the if you can see on the bottom of the saw, but yeah, I've been in the bar. Look at the stuff. I'll show you the stuff that's blowing out of the exhaust. This thing, it goes right here. Yeah, the way I can see it, so you should zoom you guys in on it and show you the garbage. This is all, some of that's from the bar, some of it's from the exhaust. All the oily stuff came straight down out of the muffler. Some of the other stuff is just grit that came down out of the case after I got it fired up. Case in the bar and all that. Yeah. But it runs. It's definitely got some carb issues. But what do you expect? It's a refurbished McCulloch. Good thing about this, if it is a good thing, a lot of the parts for this, if you have one, choke lever fell off. Oh, here it is. If you have one, you can still get the parts. Things got me wore down. You can still get the parts for it, so it's nothing to sweat. My guess is it's definitely got carb issues. No matter which way you adjust the low, the high, and doing the adjustments on it, try to turn the idle up a little bit to make the difference, but it's dumping fuel. So it does run. I mean, it obviously ran and cut, but it needs either get the carb going through or a replacement carburetor for these. You can get the full kit. So my older one I had, I was telling you about, that refurbished McCulloch. It's a FR2.0, and that carb on it was like 20 bucks. Came with carburetor, fuel line, fuel filter, spark plug, and air filter. So it came with a whole maintenance kit, and it was like $20 shipped online. So that's probably where I ended up going with this one, but it runs. I mean, I've got like next to nothing in the saw, counting the saw itself. And these saws you get on Marketplace, and Marketplace are running about 50 bucks. On eBay, the last time I was on there was trying to find one of these choke levers for that McCulloch. It was they had the choke lever. Man, they wanted $25 for that little choke lever, little piece of plastic. But a used one, not running, was $99. And the crazy thing is, these, all they are is old McCullochs. But you know, I'm sure you guys heard of the Eager, what they call them, Eager Beavers, whatever the heck they were. But it's all it is, just refurbished, man. It's all it is, just refurbished stuff people took back. McCulloch refurbished it, threw another name on it, called it a day. But the parts, if you love your saw, I mean, the parts are still readily available, and some people jump on them just because of the McCulloch name. Don't be fooled by that. There we go. So you don't want to be fooled by that. Just because it says McCulloch. Ah, the nut fell out. Down in the basement. Just because it says McCulloch doesn't mean nothing. And as I was saying, this was the FR2.0. It says right on it, factory reconditioned by McCulloch. A lot of these were the Eager Beaver ones. I think they're called Eager Beaver, something like that, something Beaver. But 14 inch. I think these are 32 cc. But it runs. At some point I'll throw a carburetor on it. The plug was definitely shot, so the only thing we've done was put fuel lines on it, fuel filter on it, primer, threw a used plug in it. But at some point I'll get around. I'll probably buy a carburetor kit for it, just throw a new carb on it and call it a day. Because I'm in no hurry. It's one of the things that'll probably never get used. I gotta go down and find that there's a little square nut that slides into that slot right there that holds onto that screw there, holds into it. Must have fell out down in the basement. But I'll wrap it up for this one and put this on so I don't lose it. And thanks for watching, guys. It's been a minute since we've done any magnet fishing or anything. We got a lot of stuff came up that we have to take care of, whether we want to or not. So a lot of this stuff is kind of out of the picture. We just got lucky with this one. Went to the thrift store and happened to find it. But I'll wrap it on and drag it out on you guys. I love to talk, but that's it. It runs. At some point I'll throw a carb on it. Then it'll be ready to rock and roll. But it cuts okay. Alright, man, we'll catch you at the next one.